Hello everyone, this is going to be kind of an introduction tutorial for EyesON Sports. You'll notice that I have my iPad up. I've obviously downloaded the application. I've actually created a couple of teams here over on the left-hand side, which I'll reference for you. For most of you, if this is your first time downloading, you won't have any of the teams yet. So there's a little plus here that you'll see. Your panel will be blank, obviously, but there's a plus sign right here. If I were to tap on that plus sign, what you would do to create your very first team is you would get your team logo, if you have one, and you'd upload it into the logo area. You'd select the age group in this particular area. You would enter your city or your location, the state in which you are in as well. You can change your time zone. It's going to be defaulted to wherever you are, but you obviously can change that if need be. And then you've also got primary and secondary colors. These are essentially for the animation, so that the uniforms that are on the players in the animation will hopefully depict as close as possible to your actual uniform colors. It's somewhat limited at this point for obvious reasons. It's primarily two colors, and the primary color is going to be the majority color of your uniform. So sometimes coaches or teams will want to choose white or gray as their primary color, and then your secondary color would be your trim color. But if you happen to have a primary color uniform, you happen to have a blue uniform that's both blue jersey and blue pants, or you have a red jersey and red pants, you can make that your primary color. That will come on most of the uniform, and then the secondary will be the trim. And if you are a coach that needs to add a team assistant, you'll notice down here on the bottom, if you have an assistant coach, if you tap on that particular area, you'll get a little window that's going to essentially say, hey, enter the person's email that you'd like to assign to be your assistant coach. It'll send them a kind of an invitation email that says that the coach wants to add you to the system. They'll accept that email, and then they'll be granted some of the same type of privileges you have for accessing the app and scoring. So you can not just the head coach who creates the account will have access, but also an assistant a coach as well. Or just have it as just yourself. You obviously don't need to put that in. That's just an opportunity for you. So I'm going to tap on cancel. Let's just assume you've created your team is essentially what I'm saying. So I'm going to tap on cancel. And you'll notice that on the panel, on the screen is if I got my team. So I happen to have more than a couple of teams. Obviously, I'm sampling a couple of things, and so I have multiple teams. You might only have one team, which of course is perfectly reasonable. In the middle panel will be upcoming events. So as you schedule games for your team, they'll appear in that middle panel. And then on the right-hand side will be your website. And there'll be a link, as you notice right here, there's a link that will go directly to the website where all of your information is compiled as well. So I'm going to go over to where it says Castellero Cobras. I'm going to tap on the Castellero Cobras team. That's one of my teams that I've created for this tutorial. And I'm going to go to the home page. You'll notice that I've identified my location, my team colors, primary and secondary. And then you've got the 4 tabs up here to the left, which is a team tab, which is defaulted. You'll note there's going to be a schedule tab. There's a roster tab, and then there's lineups. So I'm going to go through and see if I can give you a brief example of what each of those are for. So if I tap on schedule, you'll notice that I have a game that is scheduled already. But if I wanted to schedule another game, I would simply tap this plus button right here on the window. And what I'm going to get is this field. So when it comes to select the game type, if I tap on that area, I'm going to get various types of games, preseason, regular season, tournaments, scrimmages, whatever the case may be. I'll just say this is a scrimmage. If I tap on the date and time, I'm going to get a selection of times and dates. So we'll say Saturday at 2:30 p.m. Maybe that's going to be a good time. And I'll tap that. For my opponent, if I only know the name of the opponent, but they're not inside of the EyesON Sports system, then I would just tap on enter opponent's name, and I would type in the name of the opposing team. And we do that so that when you're watching the animation, that on the scoreboard of the animation and on other areas within the animation where the opposing team, his name is going to be displayed, that there's something that's in there. So that's the purpose on that. The next one, you'll notice it says find team. So if I tap on find team, it's going to go to our database and it's going to look for which team are you looking for. So I'm going to tap up here where it says all states, and I'm going to reduce that a little bit and make it just California because that happens to be where I am. And I'll say done, and then I'm going to tap the search little guy here in the upper right hand corner, and it's going to go through the database and search for teams that are in California. Now if I wanted to reduce the search, I could reduce it to age groups and it would be a little quicker, bring up a fewer number of teams essentially. And by doing that, I'm going to be looking for, again, the team that I happen to be playing. And by doing this, the reason we've done this is if you select a team that is inside of our system, when it comes to making the lineups, you're going to actually have the opposing team's roster embedded into our system so that when you actually go to picking the lineups, you can actually choose the players from the opposing team's roster when you're making a lineup. And then if they're in our system, that's what the purpose of that is for. So I'm going to tap cancel because I want to show you all options. And then again, the last one, if I say select opponent, is maybe I'm setting up this game and I don't know who the opponent is yet. So I don't know their name yet and I don't know if they're in the system. So I'm just going to tap on the to be determined, that TBD, and it's going to insert a TBD. You'll notice the next one says starting lineup. So if I tap on starting lineup, it's going to ask me to select a starting lineup. So one of the things that we offer for teams is that you can make starting lineups and save them. So say it's the night before a particular game and you know what your starting lineup is going to be for that particular game. If you associate that starting lineup with the game, then when your scorekeeper gets ready to start scoring the game, your lineup will actually be automatically inserted into the lineup sheet. So that's going to essentially make that job be cut 50%. Instead of them having to enter name and positions for both teams, they would only need to enter name and positions for the opposing team. And when you have a saved lineup and it gets entered into a game, obviously you can edit that as well, and I can show you that. So for right now, for this demonstration, we're just going to go the TBD, again, to be determined. The next line, of course, is the number of innings, so we'll just say it's a 7-inning game. Is it home or away? We'll say that it's a home game for this particular team. And then when it says select location, you'll notice that I get a window. If we don't know exactly where it is yet, obviously you can put the to be determined, but if I tap on the select location, it's going to allow me to do a search for places. Now if I've already saved them in here, which some of the places I could, but it's going to give me a search function to look for. So this is for the Castillero team, so I'm going to put that location in there. And then what this is for is that as you get fans that are following your games and they want to know where you're playing, they may be are going to be required to go to a field that they're not familiar with. So this provides a mapping system for them so they would know actually where to go to see if they can watch you guys play that particular game. So I'm going to tap the done in the upper right hand corner, which is now going to set this game into this location. And that's how you essentially would select a game and put it into your system. So the next tab is going to be roster. I'm going to tap on roster. You'll notice I already have a roster in here, but I just want to make sure you guys see how that works. There's 15 total players so far, but let's say that I needed to add an additional player. I would tap the plus button. If the kids have a picture that we want to put in there eventually, we have a system in place in which you could upload a picture of the kid, but if you don't have one, obviously that's fine, or for privacy reasons you don't want to put it in there, again, obviously fine. You got player's first name, player's last name, you've got a jersey number section, you've got which state are they associated with, are they batting right-handed or left-handed, and are they throwing right-handed or left-handed. So I'm just going to put cancel on that as an example just because that's how you would create one, but I'm going to go to Alan Anderson here, the first one. And what you're going to notice is that it's going to allow you that if I wanted to have a parent or a fan connected to Alan, that if I were to tap on this little icon right here, it's essentially going to give me that same window and says enter the email of the parent and or fan that is associated with this particular player. This is how you get the parents to be able to follow you. So when parents download this application, they're obviously not going to have the same editing ability you are as the owner of the team to be able to make a schedule and lineups and so on and so forth. But what they will be getting is they'll be getting information about the scheduling of when a practice is coming up or where there's a game that's coming up. They would also have the ability to watch the animation that is generated for each of these games. And that's kind of the purpose behind the application, that if there's parents who can't be at the game, that they can still download the app and they can still watch the animation at when it's occurring anywhere that they've got connected onto their phone, and they obviously can watch it real time, or anytime the game is finished, it's always there for them to go back. So that's how you would add a parent or a friend, I guess you could say, and you as the coach get to control who has access to get this information from you. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is go to lineups, because this sometimes creates questions, so I want to make sure we have an example of what that's for. So I'm going to tap on lineups, and you'll notice that I have no lineup saved yet. So I'm going to tap the plus button, and by tapping the plus button, I'm going to get a window, and this window is going to say, do I want to create a starting lineup? So I'm going to tap the bar to open it and insert a name and a position, and then I'll re-tap that bar to essentially insert the information, then go to the next spot in the order. So I'll show you how that works. I'm going to tap on that bar, and it's going to open my roster on the left-hand side, and I'm going to scroll to whichever name that I want for the person that's leading off, and then I'll scroll to the position that that person is playing. So let's just say Gary is playing first base. So once I've got the correct information of the name and the position, I'm going to tap on this bar, and by tapping on that bar, it's going to essentially officially put him into the lineup. So then I'm going to go to the second bar, and I'm going to repeat the process. So I'm going to tap the bar, I'm going to go to the position, I'm going to tap the bar to close it. So I'm going to move through this a little quicker, and I don't really care at this point who the players are or what positions. You obviously would put in the appropriate names and positions for your players. But just to expedite the video a little bit, I'm just going to kind of move through here kind of quickly. Here we go. And let's say that we do have a DH for this team, because that does happen. So I'm going to put that person as my DH, and I'll see how that works at the end. I'll show you why I'm using a DH here in a second. To the number 8 spot, my center fielder. To the number 9 spot, let's say Harry is playing right field. And you notice that there's 9 positions filled, but one of those positions, in the 6th position, is the DH, which means I need a 10th person in the lineup to know who it is that I'm DHing for. So I'm going to tap on that add position. It tells me that this person will not hit, which is a way of saying this is the person who's being DH'd for. I'm going to tap on that window, and let's just say Kevin happens to be my pitcher. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to tap back on the window to close it. And this is now my starting lineup. I'm going to come right up here where it says lineup name. And I'm going to tap in there where it says lineup name. And I'm just going to give it a name. So I'll just call it game number 1. Let's just say that it's game number 1. And I'm going to save it. Now by saving it, I now can reference game number 1 that can be put into a scheduled game. And when I go to start scoring the game, this lineup right here will automatically be put into my lineup card. So I'll give you a little example of what we're talking about here. I'm going to go back to my schedule, and I'm going to go to this one on the 18th, the first one against the San Jose Chargers, and you'll notice it says to be determined. So we don't have a starting lineup in this particular game. And I'm going to go up to score game. And when I tap on score game, this is my way of saying, okay, I'm going to start scoring the game. What you'll notice on the screen here is that I don't have a lineup on either side here. That in order for me to create the lineups, I'm going to tap on the screen, and you can tap anywhere in this area, or you can say build your home team. So I'm going to tap on that area, and it's going to give me my roster. All the way alphabetical, and it's also going to give me all my positions. So I might have the physical lineup card in front of me for the teams that I'm scoring that particular day, and so I'm going to look for the San Jose Chargers and say, okay, I've got their lineup card. How do I put their lineup card into our system? And you essentially will tap the position and then tap the player. Or you could do the other way around. If you want to tap the player name first and then the position, that works as well. So I'll give you an example. I'm going to put Andre Castro right there. I'm going to tap on his name, and we'll say he's the second baseman. So it's going to start to insert that information onto the right-hand side into the lineup application. Just a little bit of a delay here. The system is a little bit slow. My air server, which is the application I'm using to show you my screen, there we go. It's moving a little bit slow. Sorry about that. And then I'm going to continue on that process. So I'm selecting the person, I'm selecting the position that they're occupying, and it's putting it in. And again, if you want to do the other way around, I'm going to say the left fielder is Cade Coffey. So the the order in which you do it doesn't necessarily matter. So I'm going to have a DH. I'm going to go again, just like before, I'm going to go through this kind of quick, just to kind of give you a perspective of, you obviously would take a little bit more time and make sure that your names and positions are correct. For right now, I'm not doing that just because I want to expedite the process. So I eventually will get to the end here. Again, the air server is going to be catching up with me. It's a little bit of a delay. Sorry about that. And once it gets all the way to the end, it'll have, there we go, there's our 10th position, which is the pitcher who will not be DHing for. Now, a few of the things about this, once I've got my lineup ready, I can always edit this lineup if I need to. Like if I make a mistake, I can delete someone and say, ooh, I put the wrong person in. That would be a delete button. That's the circle with the minus. This icon here, some people call it a hamburger icon. If I click and hold and drag, I can reorder any person in the lineup. And if I mistakenly put in the pitcher was being DH for Matt Ames, and I made a mistake, and it was actually Dominic who was supposed to be being DH for, if I just hold Dominic's name and drag him down to the bottom, it'll switch that for me automatically. So this is the way you would build a lineup on one side. So I'm now going to tap the close build lineup at the bottom, and I'm going to go to the other team to the left-hand side, and I'm going to tap the screen to the left-hand side, and it's going to give me the roster of the opposing team. Now again, these teams, both of these teams are in our system. So I have the roster listed for both of these teams. If you are coming across a team that's not in our system, which is going to be common obviously when you first start, we give you a defaulted roster that literally is player number 1 position, so player first name, player last name, jersey number 1. Then we do that for numbers 1 through 18. And if you need to, of course, you can edit that aspect at all times. So again, do the same exact thing. You would tap on the person's name and the position that they happen to be playing. So I can go through this process just as quickly as I did before with the other ones. And let's just say this team does not have a DH. They've got a pitcher that hits for himself in this particular for this particular team. So I'm going to close the build lineup. I now am looking at, here are my 2 teams, here are my 2 lineups. Everything seems like it's pretty good to go. If I made a mistake, or if the scheduling made a mistake and said, hey, these teams are actually switched, that you thought the San Jose the San Jose Chargers were home, they're actually the visiting team. If I tap this area, it'll switch the home and away, or the home and visitor. So that's a nice little quick little feature there at the bottom, at the end I should say. So up here in the right hand corner you'll see lineups are complete. Once I know that my lineups are good to go, I've checked it, the umpire is ready to go, the pitcher is ready to throw his first pitch, I'm going to tap that lineups complete in the upper right hand corner. And by tapping the lineups complete in the upper right hand corner, the application is telling me that a game clock, and there are some tournaments that do have time constraints, so we made sure we put a game clock inside there. If you think you've still made a mistake, you can obviously tap this blue button and go back to the lineups and make whatever changes you need to have before the game starts. But if everything seems like it's good to go, you would just tap the OK button in the middle, and once you've tapped the OK button, then you're ready to start scoring the game. One of the things that we wanted to show you as a feature that you could either activate or not is, you'll notice right now in the main area that the only options you have are a called strike, a swinging strike, or a ball, a foul ball obviously, or outer on base. So people will say, well, is there any way of capturing the location of the pitch, the speed of the pitch, and the type of the pitch? And the answer to you is yes. You go down here to where the settings are, the settings tab, and you'll notice that when it comes up is I've right now got location, type, and speed toggled off. But if I put location on, tap it on, what you'll notice is that it's going to bring up a screen, and it's going to allow me as a scorekeeper to find or tap or register, I should say, the location of the particular pitch. And once we get there, we go. And so what you would do as a scorekeeper is you'd use your finger to simply touch the area within the ball zone, within the strike zone, or if it was a ball in the dirt, you would simply just touch the location where you're going to register that particular type of pitch. And if you only want to do location, then keep type and speed toggled off and leave them just like that. So for instance, if I go back to the score sheet, so here would be the first pitch. I'm going to tap in the upper left-hand corner which is where I'm going to say that the first pitch was going to be recorded. My system is a little slow again. Sorry about that. And then I'm going to give you the outcome. So I'm going to say that this was a ball. So I'm going to tap on ball. So you'll notice that that was the location of my first pitch, and there's a 1 associated with it. If I go back to the settings, I have the ability to put in the type of pitch as well. And as a scorekeeper, you might not want to deal with pitch type, or maybe you don't feel comfortable identifying the pitch type. So you wouldn't have that as a feature you'd have turned on. Or maybe you are a person that really wants to be able to record each type of pitch that was thrown in the at-bat. The third option we would have would be the speed. So again, if you have some kind of a speed gun that's available and you want to be able to register how fast each pitch is being thrown, then by toggling the speed on, you'd have the ability to register the speed of the pitch. So if the speed gun displays that it was a 75-mile-per-hour fastball, you would tap the 75 option that would appear on your screen. And that's essentially how you set up the application, how to get your roster ready, how to create a schedule of a game or two, how to get your lineup set, and how to start scoring. So hopefully this was helpful for you, and please have a great time.